Hello everyone, and welcome to the showdown between the Dwarves, led by Runelord, atop his mighty Pimp Anvil, and the Dark Elves, who are going to be led by Malekith the Witch King. So let's jump right into this match, guys, and have some fun. And now the tail of the tape for the Dwarves, and for any of you guys who are wondering about that expression, the tail of the tape, I know I've seen quite a few comments asking about its origins. It's actually just kind of a term that's used in American sports to kind of, so for example, before like a football game or a boxing match, they'll say the tail of the tape to indicate kind of the parameters and circumstances of the matchup at hand. So if you have two boxers, it'll say tail of the tape, and it'll show their height, their weight, those kind of things. So that's kind of just a brief origin story for that. So the tail of the tape for the Dwarves. In the front line, we do have a couple groups of Longbreeds with great weapons. In total, I think we have two, and then of course they're going to be supported by the Norgrimling's Iron Breakers. So you definitely need AP. Most Dark Elf players are going to bring a couple Harganeth Executioners and maybe even some Blackheart Corsairs, but typically it's like a combination of Harganeth and maybe some Bleak Swords and things like that. So having some AP in your front line is definitely very important. So we have those two groups. So we do have the Norgrimling's Ironbreakers, like I said. They're always ready to party with their 82 melee defense, which is so good and tasty. And we do also have a Runelord over here. So the Runelord on the Anvil is something you may or may not need in this matchup if you're facing off against like Soul Stealer and Bladewind and things like that. The extra, man, look at that dwarf's eye. Is that just like, is his eye, are they just all red and scary, or is it just me? Look how bloodshot they are, but definitely that's kind of creepy. But anyways, and he just looks so inanimate. He just looks like he's just sitting there like, oh man, that's so, I don't know why that just tripped me out. But anyways, on the Anvil, you get the 15% magic resist for your entire army, which I think is pretty good against like AoE effects and different shenanigans. And oftentimes I have seen Bladestorm used on my forces, so I figured it couldn't hurt. We also have the rune of missile resist here, which is the Master Rune of Grungni, which of course is very important here. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Two groups of Bugman's Rangers to just kind of take down Hydras and other missile troops and Dark Shards and just be kind of an all-purpose unit. Even shoot at Skirmisher Cav. Two Slayers in the back, Slayers and Dragonback Slayers. And then to support our army on the flanks, we have a couple groups of Miners. So that's pretty much it. And of course, two Thanes. Thanes are very important here to lock down Cav, Chariots, Dark Riders, Hydras, Malekith. I mean, just a very, very important thing in this matchup. So, as such, we do have two Thanes. For my opponent, a couple groups of Dark Riders. You can see he's going to be pressuring in on both of my flanks here, but I do have my Slayers and my Tormentor Sword here ready to party, and he does also have another group on the far side. For his main army, I was not expecting this much heavy AP. He has 4 Harganeth Executioners, which is just going to vastly outclass my front line. The Norgrimling's Ironbreakers will hold for a long time, but the the Longbreeds with great weapons are definitely going to struggle a little bit in that fight. So I'm definitely going to need to support with my missiles and my Thane and my runes to kind of keep things going. So 4 of those, he does have a Hydra, Malekith on the Lizard Limo, as Dob Plays likes to call it, with Bladestorm, Chillwind, and Power of Darkness. So we're going to be getting some AoE. He has a couple groups of the Blackheart Corsairs, which he's probably going to try and get up and around to take out my Slayers, or maybe just have them take out my low-tier troops. Bleak Swords, and that's pretty much it. So no missile play, which I was a little bit like, oh no, I have no good targets for my Bugman's Rangers, but I guess there is a Hydra, so that's pretty much the best target possible. So my opponent tried to just blitz in and shut down my guns on his approach, so I do get a Tormentor Sword here, and you can see I'm able to trap these guys down. So the Dragonback Slayers are going to come in, and they just got their Dawi karate kicks ready. So here they come, some dwarf martial arts coming in, and you can see that these Dark Riders are just going to get absolutely massacred by the Dragonback Slayers, just taken down to about 20% within a matter of seconds. And things are looking pretty good on the initial approach here, but my opponent came in from the other side as well, so a lot of pressure. And guys, the Tormentor Sword literally catches them at the last second. I'm able to pin them down, and I think literally like one Dark Rider gets in, and this one dwarf is like, hey man, stop it, what are you doing over there? So I'm able to stop him before he gets in with the charge, which was really nice. In the front, the Blasting Charge is coming in against the Harganeth Executioners, and the Bugman's Rangers and Thunders are going to be shooting at the Hydra. So things are going well in the initial engagement. My opponent does get a Bladestorm back there, which does some okay damage against my Thunders. Backline is relatively secure with those guys having gone down. And yeah, wow, that breath actually did some pretty good damage. So the Hydra Breath comes in there, and I also get a Master Rune of Wrath and Ruin. But now, whatever advantage I had with my missile play and other tools like that is pretty much gone now. My opponent just massacring these dwarves down here. These Longbreeds with great weapons just getting cut to pieces by the Harganeth Executioners, and of course Malekith's Lizard Limo just charging in there. So he has a massive force, which is pretty much uncontested, pushing right at my formation. So from here, unfortunately, I have to pull Slayers in to fight against the Blackheart Corsairs, which is a horrid matchup for me. They obviously do very well against light armor with their anti-infantry, so I also have a Thane there and some Miners I pulled from Auxiliary. They're going to be doing a downhill Dawi charge with their pickaxes, and they get a decent little charge, but they're not going to be able to deal with these guys easily. Aside from that, the Hydra does push through, but I have my Bugman's Rangers shooting it, and also I think I have some Slayers nearby, so another Bladestorm coming down from my opponent right there and just munching on my Thunders a little bit, but it does rotate out the wrong way. But so far, so good. It looks like the War Hydra is able to but he does take a lot of damage from my Bugman's Rangers here. and we should be able to break it off here in just a moment with some focus fire. So the Slayer is pouring through, but unfortunately they are being shadowed by these Blackheart Corsairs, who are going to be able to do a lot of damage. My Slayer's here, obviously in a very desperate fight. My Thane is surrounded by heavy AP. My Slayer's here just getting kind of munched by these Harganeth and armored troops, and obviously Slayers aren't equipped to deal with such infantry. So I was a little bit light on the front line, and I really paid, the price for it here. I had to pull some miners, and the miners are holding, but, they're going to get cut up pretty quick. In the leadership fight, you can see Malekith is down here trying to fight against my Nordgrimling's Iron Breakers, but this is going well. My Rune Lord right here with his Master Rune of Wrath and Ruin and his Pimp Hammer, you can see he's just been smacking these guys in the dome, having a good old time, but still, I mean, this is just 1 point in the front line, and pretty much everywhere else, my great weapons have faltered. I've had to pull miners and start fighting in the front line with my Slayers, so a little bit stressful here. But regardless, I do break the Hydra, which is great. The balance power is dead even, so definitely a very even fight at this point. So my Slayers are chasing, but the Hydra has 46 speed to their 40, so it's probably going to be able to create enough distance, and there goes a very, very bad thing for me. So the Hydra, it got its proc, it healed up, and it's probably going to be able to regenerate to at least half HP, because I can't quite catch it to chase it off the battlefield, which is really, really stressful. So up here, some of these Blackheart Corsairs have engaged my Bugman's Rangers, but the reason I like Bugman's Rangers so much is that they're pretty powerful combatants in melee. So they're going to countercharge these guys, and honestly, they should be able to beat what's left of these Blackheart Corsairs into submission and push them off here. But the Lizard Limo's coming from Malekith, so Malekith's coming in hot. He does use Power of Darkness. A little bit of a limp charge right there, but he does get the power off, so that's going to give him Winds of Magic, perhaps more Bladestorm action. And the balance power, now that this Hydra is healing and back in the battle, it looks like it is in my opponent's favor a little bit, but the Slayers are going to try and head it off. But the Hydra, of course, has really good mass and is faster, and these aren't the Dragonback Slayers, so they're not going to be able to pin him down as well. I'm trying to run from some of these Bleak Swords back here with my Thunders, and I kind of just, at this point, was like, I wish I had just brought more Bugman's Rangers, because they could probably fend these guys off. But unfortunately, my Thunders here are probably going to get routed and broken by them, so that's too bad. Over here, it looks like my Thane and some of these Bugman's Rangers are in a bit of a desperate fight, surrounded by Blackheart Corsairs and Malekith on his Raptor Limo. So they're going to hold for as long as they can. Over here, a much worse situation. You can see my Thane here is pinned down by just tons of heavy units. So 35, 38 right here of really solid armor-piercing troops. A couple of blasting charges coming in to help my Thane out, but the only engagement that went really well in the front line for me was down here, and even that was pretty atrocious. So these Nordgrimling's Ironbreakers, 54 kills. My Rune Lord is in good shape. He does pop the Master Rune of Oath and Steel. Going to put my armor up to 185, which is pretty good, to say the least. But the Harganeth Executioners here are getting fended off, so, as far as, just general engagements go, it looks okay with the exception of the Hydra. I figure if the Hydra wasn't here, I might have a chance of, kind of turning the balance of power around, but you can see it's so heavily in my opponent's favor at this point. The fact that I wasn't able to chase off the Hydra, and I was also not expecting that much heavy AP in the front line. I think that was something that really caught me off guard here. And I had the resources to deal with the Hydra, but ultimately those resources just got kind of overrun because of the sheer pressure he was able to apply to the back line. So if I had to redo the build a little bit, I might bring a little bit more infantry durability in the front line. I was honestly expecting some Dark Shards or AP missiles or things like that, but unfortunately I was duped, and he just overwhelmed me with infantry. So that's going to be it. My Dwarf forces are going to fight to the bitter end. You can see up here we actually have a good engagement, finishing off these Blackheart Corsairs kind of, but that's going to be it for Adawi. So another one added to the Great Book of Grudges, and don't worry guys, we will be back with maybe High King Thorgrim will have to sally out from his halls to satisfy this grudge, but very well played to my opponent. That was a fun game. Definitely brought an off-meta build, and that's something that in Total War Warhammer, micro is very important, obviously, and that's kind of at the top tier of play when everyone's kind of using the same builds. That's what dictates who wins. But builds in this game, more so than a lot of other RTS games, are very important. And if you can think outside of the box and bring builds like this that your opponent isn't going to expect, like these Corsairs and just 4 Harganeth Executioners and a Hydra, it's a very aggressive infantry army. And I brought a well-rounded army which could kind of address Dark Shards, it could address Skirmishers, but it didn't have enough melee stopping power to deal with, these 4 very elite armor-piercing anti-infantry troops, and I really like that for my opponent, so it was definitely solid. So very well played to my opponent, Ciaranor, probably I would say, hopefully I got that right. Look forward to running into you again on ladder, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this Dwarf versus Dark Elf showdown. Have an excellent night, guys, and take care.